Hi, I'm Shannon, and I'm a legal ambassador, and I'm also the leading contributor of the month at the Legal Amity. I'm here with Vinesh Mistry, who is a barrister at DWF, and he's going to be sharing his experiences and tips and some tricks for us all. So I'll hand it over to you, Vinesh.
Hi, hello everybody. My name is Vinesh. I'm a junior barrister at DWF. My practice is predominantly civil and commercial, so it's anything between fast track slip and trip accidents and road traffic accidents towards the bottom, straight through to multi-million pound, multi-million dollar arbitrations at the top. So, and anything in between.
So we'll get straight into the first question everyone's dying to know. How was your BPTC experience, and what did you learn from it?
I actually had a bit of an unconventional route to the bar. I initially applied to sit the full-time program of the BPTC, but circumstances changed in which I actually then swapped to the part-time program. So I was doing the bar part-time, working full-time alongside it. And it was absolutely the most challenging experience I think I've had to date so far. Because you are supposed to be keeping up on top of all of your readings and revision and drafting exercises and advocacy exercises, all whilst at the time I was working as a paralegal, and then I actually also was working in sales as well. So my BPTC experience was a bit different. I would wholeheartedly recommend that people, especially when you consider the fees and consider the prospects of securing pupillage afterwards, wholeheartedly recommend that student consider the part-time option, simply because it allows you to gain those valuable experiences, those valuable skills which you can accumulate through the world of work to supplement your learning in the BPTC or the BTC, I think it's called now. So my experience was extremely challenging, worth it. Don't want to go back.
I'm not
and what I learned is that you can balance an awful number of things at any one time. If you put yourself in an uncomfortable situation, you'll very quickly find that you will be swimming. And it's just taking that step to put yourself in that kind of situation is the key thing, I suppose.
Fab. Well, at least you've gotten through it now. You're out of the other end.
Very true.
Could you tell us how a candidate can stand out when applying for mini pupillage, for example? How can they be the best candidate, put their best selves forward?
So here I just draw a distinction between mini pupillages and pupillage. When you are applying for mini pupillages, I suspect that the vast majority of applicants will be people who are still reading their degrees, or those who are on the BPTC as well, I suppose those who have passed it as well. Whereas if you are applying for pupillage, you are looking for one very specific thing, and that is to effectively be the best candidate, whatever the best may be defined as out of the other candidates. With a mini pupillage application, you are trying to show that you have the potential to pursue the career at the bar. You are thinking about pursuing a career at the bar, and that you want to learn more about that particular set or about the area of law associated to that particular set. And so I emphasize that there's the main thing that certainly for me makes a candidate shine in a mini pupillage application is this desire to learn. And it doesn't matter at which stage in your academic or vocational training that you're at. The simple fact is, if you can show to me that you are really interested, or at least you could spur an interest in the areas in which I practice, and the areas or you have an interest in being an employed barrister, as in the context of DWF advocacy, and you are just keen to learn about more what it means to be a barrister, what our day-to-day looks like, then that is the thing that's going to really stand in your favour. I've read a number of mini pupillage applications, And you do see a great deal of difference between those who say that they want to learn about this, and this, and obviously very specific about what they want to learn and very insightful, against applicants who've just said, oh, you know, I have a general interest in civil and employment and in this and in that, and then full stop. You have to show your reasoning behind it. You have to explain yourself. So rather than just simply say, I want to learn about, I don't know, employment law, say something along the lines of, I want to learn about employment law because having seen X, Y, and Z, having read this, that, and that, I have become interested in this piece of law, something like that. That is at least a tangible connection between your career aspirations and us. And I think that's the main thing with mini pupillage applications. I'd also double check spelling. I've had a number of applications where DWF has been misspelled, and it's 3 letters long. I mean, so I would definitely say make sure you show your thirst and desire to learn in your mini pupillage application.
I think that's a really good thing to tell people. So thirdly, so what advice would you give to students trying to decide between becoming a solicitor or a barrister? I know a lot of students get kind of stuck, what should I do, which route, what would I be best at? What can you say towards that?
It goes without saying that as students, you should be experiencing both. You cannot cross off being a solicitor or being a barrister if you've not had that experience. I've had a number of friends who, and I've met a number of people who have only had fact schemes or internships or only had mini pupillages, and you sit there and you think to yourself, well, how does that mean you definitely don't want to be a solicitor or barrister? You've not gone out there, you've not experienced what their day-to-day is like. So students really should be open to trying both. And after you've experienced both, then you sit down with yourself and say, well, what did I enjoy out of one placement and what did I enjoy out of the other placement? Is it by virtue of the areas of law that I found my mini pupillages more interesting, or is it by virtue of the fact that I enjoyed the client handling, the letter drafting, the teamwork and collaboration that you have with perhaps being in a traditional solicitor's practice? Going through that kind of exercise will at least help you distill what you enjoy and what you don't enjoy about the various different ends of the profession. But that said, I mean, the distinction between a solicitor and barrister these days is incredibly blurred. For some people, the idea of advocacy is wonderful, and they want to be in court every day, and they want to be being beaten up by a district judge in some application in the middle of nowhere, and that for them is their bread and butter, and that's what they consider fun. But that said, the financial insecurity, for example, being at the self-employed bar, might not be appropriate for them and their future in the long term. So in that case, then having an aspiration to being a solicitor advocate is a reasonable goal to consider. In that case, then fair enough, the opportunities may be few and far between, but qualifying as a solicitor and taking the advocacy course and getting the rights afterwards is entirely optional, is entirely possible, and especially in the light of increased fixed cost regimes and a reduction to retainers fees and fixed fees, particularly from big insurance companies, for example. Firms are seeing the incentive of having an in-house advocacy service. So it is, do experience both, but don't necessarily think that it's one or the other. There is an in-between, and it is also a career, and a career maps out over a long period of time and meanders like any river or stream along different paths, taking different directions, but ultimately it's all going forward. So sometimes just do what you enjoy, try to find what you enjoy, and balance that off with, will this be achievable in the long term? Will this be sustainable in the long term?
Absolutely agree. I agree with you there. And then the last question we'll ask you is, so what top tips would you provide an aspiring barrister? What what advice would you give them?
COVID-19 has actually done wonders for online networking and getting involved with content out there that helps aspiring barristers. There is so much material out there now. Certainly I've done a number of Zoom calls and webinars and sessions and all the rest of it. I know a number of my colleagues have had, a number of my friends who are at the bar have also done it. There is so much out there, and the best thing I would say for any aspiring barrister is simply just to engage with the content out there. Barristers, particularly in the legal profession, and I suspect this is probably true for a number of professions, people are always willing to help those who are trying to climb their way up their career ladder. Especially at the junior bar, everyone is about paying it forward. And so at least at this moment in time, when, you know, your ability to go see people in action in court is restricted, and you're ultimately sitting at home not doing much because it's the summer holidays, just engage with the content out there, subscribe for it, sign up to a webinar, watch content like this, connect with people on LinkedIn, and message people as well. Fortune favors the brave. And if you drop a message to a barrister, what's the worst thing that could happen? They could either ignore you, which is an entirely possible option, in which case, fine, you're no better, no worse. They might also say, well, thank you for the invitation, and then stop the conversation there, in which case, yeah, you're no better, no worse. Otherwise, they might also say, hey, it's really nice to connect with you. If you've got any questions, let me know. Follow it up with a question, boom, you're done. So engage with the content, and just don't be afraid to take that first step to get yourself into the profession and into the minds of the people working there right now.
Yeah, I think an absolutely important thing is just to remember that everyone's been in your shoes. You know, we all need to climb the same ladder. So they've all been a student at some point, struggling, maybe a bit lost on what we're going to do, how do I do this? Oh, not everybody knows everything. Everyone's always in the same shoes. You just have to be brave, like you said, and just give it a go. It's not going to harm you.
I mean, it took me a number of years after completing the bar to then secure and commence pupillage, and in that period it's all about the hustle. It is just about making sure that your application is as strong as it can be, both in how it's presented and both its actual content, and making sure that you've got friends who are or contacts in the industry who are looking at your applications. It's just how it works, and if you just keep at it, it should hopefully pan out for you.
Yeah, just keep trying. Don't give up, as they say. Just keep going. Well, thank you, Vinesh, anyway, for joining us today. It's been absolutely great listening to your advice and your experience as a barrister. If you'd like, everyone who's watching, if you'd like to ask any questions, you know, be sure to drop them in the comments, and we'll send them over to Vinesh, or we'll try and answer them ourselves. But thank you for watching. If you could subscribe, that would be absolutely great.
Thank you.